Okay, let's dive right in. We spend so much of our time trying to communicate, right? We're trying to convince people, get our point across, connect with them. But what if we've been going about it all wrong? That's what we're digging into today. We're going to crack the code on how to make your messages actually land.
I mean, you've totally been there, right? You lay out this perfectly logical, airtight argument. You've got all the facts, all the data. It's just flawless. And what do you get back? A blank stare. Or even worse, they just flat out disagree. It is so frustrating. And honestly, that feeling gets right to the heart of the problem. We build our messages thinking the person we're talking to is, well, a robot. A totally rational being who's just gonna take our perfect logic, process it, and of course, agree with us. We think, hey, my argument is solid, so they have to accept it. But yeah, that's just not how our brains work.
So this disconnect, this leads us right into something we can call the communication gap. It's that huge chasm between the brilliant things we think we're saying and what people actually hear and do. So here's the clash, right? On one side, you have our big assumption. People are logical, they weigh the pros and cons. But then there's reality. And the reality is that human behavior is, well, kind of messy. It's all about mental shortcuts, gut feelings, emotions, and all these biases we don't even know we have. We're definitely not robots just processing data. And that leads to this. Why don't they just get it? The facts are clear. Oh man, I bet that sounds familiar, doesn't it? That is the sound of pure frustration. It's what happens when our beautiful, logical argument just smacks right into the wall of how people actually are. We're trying to jam a square peg into a round hole, and it's just not working.
Okay, so if people are so illogical, should we just give up? Is it a lost cause?
Absolutely not. And that's because it brings us to a really cool idea. Our brains might be irrational, but they're predictably irrational. And this is where a whole field of study called behavioral economics comes into play. It's super interesting. It doesn't just look at us and go, wow, people are weird. Instead, it digs into why we do the illogical things we do. It's all about understanding the patterns behind our kind of strange behavior.
And this right here, this is the absolute key. It's not that our behavior is just random chaos. Nope, it follows predictable patterns. For example, we almost always prefer a small reward right now over a bigger one later. We're super influenced by how a choice is framed. And let's be honest, we love to follow the crowd. These are predictable things, and if you can predict it, you can work with it.
So once we get a handle on these patterns, we can stop trying to just brute force our message. There's a much smarter, much more elegant way to do it. And that brings us to the power of the nudge. All right, so what in the world is a nudge? Well, think of it like this. It's a gentle push in the right direction. It's not a rule. It's not a demand. It doesn't take away any of your other choices. It just makes the best choice a little easier or a little more appealing. It's designed to work with our mental shortcuts, not fight them. And this shows the difference perfectly. Forcing someone is like yelling, "You must take this path." It just makes people want to do the opposite, right? But nudging, that's like just lighting up the easiest path. You're not shoving them. You're just making the way forward really obvious and effortless. Okay, so how do we actually create a nudge? Well, it's a pretty simple three-step process. First, you gotta figure out what's going on. What's the irrational behavior? Are people procrastinating? Are there just too many options? Step 2, know exactly what you want them to do. Get super clear on your goal. And finally, step 3, design the choice to be ridiculously easy, attractive, and well-timed. Let's make the best choice the easiest choice. I love this because it perfectly sums up the whole idea. You stop arguing about why your option is the most logical one. Instead, you just focus on making it the path of least resistance. It's a total game changer. All right, so let's tie all of this together and start communicating with reality in mind. The moment we stop talking to this imaginary, perfectly logical person in our heads and start talking to actual, real people, everything changes. Here's the bottom line. Effective communication isn't about being louder. It's about being smarter. If your message isn't getting through, yelling it again isn't gonna work. The real solution is to be a designer, to redesign the choice itself so it just clicks with how people's minds already work. So let's just quickly recap the key takeaways. First, our old way of just assuming everyone's logical, it's broken. It fails. Second, human behavior isn't random, it's predictably irrational. And third, we can use nudges to gently guide choices, making the best option the easy option. Ultimately, what this all boils down to is this. If you can understand how people actually think, you can make your message truly resonate. It's like you stop trying to swim upstream. Instead, you learn how the current works, and you let it carry your idea right where it needs to go. That's when your message really lands and sticks.
So I'll leave you with this question. Now that you know the secret, what nudges will you start seeing everywhere? Because I promise you, they are all around you, in the grocery store, on websites, everywhere. So keep an eye out, and more importantly, think about how you can start using them to make your own communication, well, finally work.